June 14, 1940, German boots stomped along the ancient cobbled streets of Paris. Paris, queen of the civilized world. She spawned the Age of Enlightenment, Voltaire, Pascal, Descartes, and nurtured Monet, Cézanne, Matisse. To her writers and poets, Paris was freedom, Paris was love, Paris was France. When Adolf Hitler triumphantly arrived in Paris, he said, "It was a dream of my life to see Paris. I am overjoyed that today my dream has become a reality." The capital city is a traditional diamond that the enemy must snatch to win the game of war. The fall of Paris ended the first phase of World War II in Europe. I was there. The question the world asked as Jack Boots marched down the Champs-Élysées was clearly this: how did this happen? Adolf Hitler identified himself with the great conquerors of history, Alexander the Great, Caesar, Napoleon. He saw himself as a messiah sent by Providence to save modern Germany. In his words, the Nazi mission was to secure for the German people the land and soil to which they are entitled on this earth. Hitler's timetable was precise. He would chip away at Europe, reclaiming territory stripped from Germany by the Treaty of Versailles. In 1936, he seized the Rhineland and claimed he wanted nothing more. In 1938, Austria was annexed, and again Hitler said that was all he wanted. Within 5 days, he set his next target, Czechoslovakia. In London, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain pursued a policy of appeasement with Germany. Along with British pacifists, intellectuals, and business interests, he abhorred war, and he preferred fascism to communism. He expected no help from isolationist America. France was undergoing another of her many government crises. The Popular Front coalition had broken up, leaving a paralyzed foreign policy. Premier Daladier had no choice but to follow Britain's lead. In Germany, Hitler and Goebbels launched an intensive propaganda campaign. It was a Nazi media blitz designed to convince the Germans that the 3 million people of German origin living in Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland were being persecuted. Hitler demanded justice for Czechoslovakia's Sudeten Germans. It was time, he said, to repatriate and protect German kinfolk. Through the summer of 1938, the Nazis pounded home their theme: the Sudetenland must be German. To intimidate Czechoslovakia, Hitler staged military maneuvers on the Czech frontier. The Germans in Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland, taking orders from Berlin, demanded autonomy. Czech President Eduard Beneš had been pushed to the brink by Nazi agitation in the Sudetenland and the specter of an invasion by Hitler. Nazi violence and terrorism erupted. President Beneš ordered a partial mobilization of the Czech army, one of the strongest in Europe. The Czech government did not intend to give up without a fight. Well-equipped and well-disciplined, the Czech army frightened the German general staff. Hitler, nevertheless, was furious at the Czech mobilization. To the dismay of his generals, he vowed to wipe Czechoslovakia off the map. In London, fear of war prompted Prime Minister Chamberlain to seek an audience with Hitler. He was determined to avoid war at all costs.
My policy has always been to try to ensure peace. And the Führer's ready acceptance of my suggestion encourages me to hope that my visit to him will not be without result.
Hitler and Goering faced possible obliteration by the combined forces of Czechoslovakia and France, allied by a mutual defense treaty. Chamberlain's arrival provided Hitler with a thin strand of hope. He expected Chamberlain to make strong demands and was baffled by the British Prime Minister's willingness to concede everything that he had been planning to take by force. Chamberlain returned to London to convince his cabinet and the French that Hitler should be given all areas of Czechoslovakia that were more than 50% German. Czechoslovakia was pressured to accept, and Chamberlain prepared to dash off for his second meeting with Hitler.
European peace is what I am aiming at, and I hope that this journey may open the way to get it.
On September 22nd, Chamberlain arrived in Gothenburg, Germany, confident that he had negotiated a settlement. By this time, the naive Prime Minister, who trusted the Führer's word, would meet a different Adolf Hitler. After the first encounter with Chamberlain, Hitler decided he could get anything he wanted out of him. True to form, Hitler would step up his demands. Chamberlain believed the crisis would subside. He would soon tell the Führer that the British, French, and Czech governments had accepted his demands. Chamberlain was cheerful, optimistic. Hitler bided his time, listening in sullen silence. He would allow Chamberlain to do all the talking, then spring his trap. Conditions had changed, he would say. The Sudetenland must be occupied by Germany at once. The deadline is October 1st. The alternative is war. Seeking peace, Chamberlain swallowed his pride.
After my visits to Germany, I realized vividly how Herr Hitler feels that he must champion other Germans. He told me privately that after this Sudeten German question is settled, that is the end of Germany's territorial claims in Europe.
The French and Czechs rejected Hitler's ultimatum. France would honor her treaty to aid Czechoslovakia. During a shrieking speech that almost caused his generals to revolt, Hitler repeated his threat. Intimidated by Hitler's rage, a desperate Chamberlain enlisted Mussolini's help to set a third meeting.
When I come back, I hope I may be able to say, as Hotspur says in Henry IV, out of this nettle danger, we pluck this flower safety.
The Munich conference, requested by Mussolini, began on September 29th. French Prime Minister Daladier was in a daze. He was about to dishonor the signature of France and abandon Czechoslovakia, the nation she had promised to defend. Prime Minister Chamberlain was determined that no one, neither the French nor the Czechs, should stand in the way of averting war. On September 30th, the Munich Agreement officially dismembered Czechoslovakia. President Beneš was not even present to witness his nation's fate. A democratic state had been sacrificed to avoid war.
As symbolic of the desire of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again.
Well, I would say that appeasement was not just the personal policy of Neville Chamberlain. Appeasement was a policy which was supported by a lot of people in England, and particularly won the support of, I think, in the English business community. People who thought they could do business with Hitler, thought Hitler was good for business, thought a little discipline was great for the national life. These people, on the whole, preferred Mussolini to Hitler, but if they had to choose between fascism and communism, they would choose fascism any day, and Hitler was a bulwark against communism. So for all these reasons, a lot of people in the British upper class, particularly in the commercial upper class, favored a deal with Hitler and thought that they could live with Hitler.